doing a tower garden topic because we're getting to the end of the summer, and in the news, many states have been getting heat waves. So I think the topic has often been with a lot of our distributors and customers around dealing with the heat and the tower gardens, which fortunately the design of the tower garden does very well for the heat compared to soil gardens, naturally because it waters it. So as long as you can handle and cool the water, everything will work out for itself. So I jotted down a few notes because that was my first topic, um, is just talking about the summer heat. Uh, is I always try to maintain my tower gardens with at least um, half full as far as the water, never go below half full. And naturally, if you can stay above that, you're benefiting it because the volume of the water will naturally keep the tower garden cool. If you go below half full, you'll probably next time you reach into the water, it will be about dishwater temperature. I mean, it will be very hot, up to 85 degrees often. Um, we talk about going to half strength on your tonic, and the concept around that is during heat, the summer heat, your plants need more water. They're thirsty, more thirsty than they need nutrients. So we often tell all of our customers and distributors to go half strength. There are times you could actually go to 1/4 strength. As an example, that Friday, if you knew that you were going 2, 3, 4 days, Jake, with that kind of temperature, you could have gone to 1/4 strength for one tank. It doesn't bother the plants at all, um, and again, they're looking for water a lot more than nutrients. Um, One of the techniques I use, and I think many of you do, is the frozen water bottle in the tank. I put mine in every day at sunset. I actually have mine here. And what I picked out, if you notice, this is a 50-ounce water bottle. I'm trying to get a large water bottle for it to be able to cool a larger volume in the reservoir. But that's what I do is I use 50-gallon tanks. Some people, a couple of customers have always asked me, how do I fish these out? And I don't know how you fish yours out, but mine is a simple technique. Is all I do is swish the water around to get it going into a circle, and if it's in the far back corner, it just slowly works its way to the front, and then I pick it out. Simple as that. I think another thing that I've posted before is I use the lid for the reservoir to measure. There's different ways of measuring if you're trying to estimate how much water is in your tank. And in my case, when I put the top level on the top of the reservoir, if my water gets below, that's just a technique that I use to tell me I'm at half full. I should fill up my tank. Another, some people measure on the sides. Some people use a stick. And when we get into Q&A, we can talk more on some other techniques that people use. Um, moving it to the shade. A lot of people have dollies and have the ability to move their tower garden around. And so I've known some people that utilize shade to relieve it, normally during the 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. time frame when it's the most intense. Uh, I'm sitting on my back patio, and what I have an eastern facing backyard. Well, my house provides my shade starting around 3 or 4 o'clock. So I get it naturally. But some people, depending on your position, when it's a heat wave, you might be looking at putting it for a few days where it can get some shade. Also, to rotate it daily, just to make sure you're turning around again so that one particular plant doesn't burn in the and then, of course, naturally selecting heat tolerant plants. Uh, This tower garden behind me, that is my background, that is my tomato cage tower garden. Everything on that tower is heat tolerant. So that's tomatoes, cucumbers, basil, peppers, and Swiss chard. Oh, and did I say cucumbers? And cucumbers. And that's why it's a jungle, because they're thriving. Uh, we talked about trimming roots in the reservoir. Now, I do this weekly. I'm not sure if you do it more often. I tend to do it weekly, and I use the reach and rip technique. And that is, I have no problem reaching my hand into the reservoir, into the water. I don't get a reaction to the water at all. So I just reach in, grab as many roots as I can, and they rip right out. And that's my technique. Some people have lifted the lid up and used scissors. That's another way, which is good because you get the visualization and you don't cut the tube. Because I had a customer just last month, he reached in and he cut his blue tube. And that's one of the things that why we tell people don't use scissors. But in his case, it worked out. He used a little duct tape and he got it running. And then I want to talk about when you start looking at some of your plants that naturally will bolt or go to seed due to the heat. Normally, these are lettuces and arugulas for me. I grow a lot of lettuces, and so you're always looking for when they're starting to go long. Normally lettuces will leaf out and create a head or be leafing, but as soon as you start to see that that plant is producing, and I apologize for the garbage truck going by. As soon as you see it reaching, which is what it's trying to do, is to produce a flower at the end. As soon as you start to see it reaching or bolting, you need to harvest it or it will turn bitter on you. And nobody likes bitter lettuce or arugula. And then I talked about aggressively pruning. In my case, sorry, uh, this tower garden has tomatoes and cucumbers, and I aggressively prune them almost every day. Anytime I see um, any kind of leaf that looks old or torn, I just remove it. And it's amazing how I'll do that every day. I'll grab that pile, I'll put it out on we get delivery service at our gutters, so we just put our debris in the gutters. But I do it every single day, and that those cucumbers and tomatoes are always producing leaves. It keeps them healthy. It keeps airflow, and so that you don't get anything like powdery mildew, as an example. And then naturally, it it has the plants concentrating on producing fruit and not leaves. Um, Another thing that happens throughout the summer are pests. And I know a lot of customers, and this is something we'll talk about customer care in a minute. But a lot of customers and distributors, they don't know one bug from another. They don't know if it's good or bad. So a lot of it is just education. We can do that for our customers, and then there are some websites which will I'll change your website in a little bit. Um, but helping your customer identify what's a good bug and what's a bad bug. I think I've done a couple of posts where like ladybugs and what was the other post I did on the praying mantis as an example. But most everything else is not a good bug, but there's a few like assassin bugs are good bugs. In my case, I go around my tower gardens every single day looking for pests. And when I find them, I usually pick them off. I don't have a problem with bugs. Some of your customers might not want to pick the bugs off. And that solution, they only have two choices, either to spray it or to remove it. Now, in some cases, a lot of times the spraying is effective for certain things with aphids and caterpillars. But there are some times, in my experience in the 8 years I've been doing it, is every once in a while your your kale or something just gets overwhelmed with whatever is attacking it. And my solution is I just pull it and move on. Something else it's not. I try not to get too frustrated about that. And I think I've done a lot of posts on organic sprays that you can use, and also in our Tower Garden blogs. Tim Blank published an article, and he talks about the. I think he had 3 different sprays that can help you attack aphids, caterpillars, and I can remember what the third one is. Customer care. So in my case, what I've always told all my customers is I'm going to hold their hand for their rookie year. And I literally do that is I keep in contact with them. And the biggest thing that you're trying to do is you want to be aware of what they're growing and what kind of any issues that they're having through their rookie year. Because many of them are not knowledgeable. They have a desire to plant certain things, but you need to educate them on what that means. As an example, when a customer picks broccoli, cauliflower, tomatoes, cucumbers, eggplant, and they start listing all these things, we need to help them understand how big those plants are and how many the Tower Garden should really handle. Because in their rookie year, you need to limit the large plants that they might be attempting. In my case, you can see this tower right here violates all those rules, but I'm an experienced tower gardener. And when I say violates, the bottom 4 ports are tomatoes, and the next 4 ports are cucumbers. So that's 8 ports that are very thirsty plants. Don't allow your customer to do that their very first year, because I don't believe they will have a good experience because they'll be filling the reservoir up about every 48 hours in the heat. So just understand that. Educate them on starting their plants. Remember, they really have 3 options. They can start from seed. A lot of people like to own the whole process. So help them understand what it involved for starting from seed. We have excellent Tower Garden seedling providers. I tend to focus on getting my customers to go that route because it's the easiest. And lastly is going to any nursery and picking out seedlings, and they have to go through what I call the sandwich process of removing the soil from the roots and putting a sandwich with the rockworm and putting them into the tower. I've used this technique many times at the beginning of the season when all the nurseries have excellent produce waiting for you to use. And then, of course, make them aware of all accessories. A lot of times your customer is going to buy the minimum in the beginning and work their way up. So just help them understand about if they don't have a dolly or an extension or the tomato cage or the light. Just continually educate them on the timing of when they might want to purchase those. And then something I know Susie does very well is sharing a lot of meal prep and cooking ideas. When these folks are starting to grow certain vegetables, naturally, help them understand, how you can prepare those. I'm always eating fruits and vegetables, and I do a lot of grilling with fruits and vegetables. A lot of people don't know how to grill vegetables, so I do a lot of education on that to help them understand. Just the other day I grilled pineapple. A lot of people don't even realize you can grill pineapple, peaches. They taste great on the grill. And then another thing that I try to stress for different areas is if your customer doesn't have it, you should have it, and that is backup. And that is in your area, do you have a backup pump? Do you have a backup timer? Because one of your customers, or in this case, that tube, if I would have had a backup tube, which I didn't, so he was fortunate to to be able to tape it. But in my case, in my garage, I always have a backup pump and a backup timer, which I've had to use personally, and I've also had customers that call me up and say, "Hey, my pump just quit on me," and I come right over and save the day. So do suggest that to a lot of people to when they're getting ready to order supplies. Suggest that. I'm an old contingency planner. I'm always into backup, and in my case, I had 3 tower gardens, so I always make sure I have an extra pump, and it's saved me before. Lastly, I have, and I believe Jake, you communicated this, is we have a new tower garden group that we're wanting to move all of our customers over, and it is sponsored by the Juice Plus company. So we can discuss that a little more on strategy, but I am assuming we will want to inform all of our customers to go off of the Tower Gardeners user exchange and move themselves to the tower to table, and then it's # Tower Garden. And we'll post that on Team Ignite. But we're trying to move off of the Tower Garden user exchange. I think it's a great idea. It's grown too large, and there's a lot of misinformation. And I believe this tower to table site is going to be very good and very specific on information about Tower Gardens and Juice Plus and staying in that area and not suggesting alternatives.
The great thing about that site too, Ron, let me just interject a moment, if you will. The great thing about that is that we have a lot of certified, I can't remember what their title is, but they are the people that help people to set up farms with Tower Garden farms, and they are going to be advisors on that page. So people aren't going to be getting misinformation like they are on the other page. So this is on the other page. They're recommending a lot of like nutrients that are not tower tonic. I mean, tower tonic is the perfect nutrient solution for tower gardens. It was designed specifically to give us the nutrition that we need. So why would you want to make it? I mean, tower garden is supposed to be easy, right? We want to make it simple. By recommending all those other things, it's just complicating the process. So yeah, I'm really excited about this new page. I'm already seeing a lot of really good stuff on it.
Yeah, it's going very well. People are sharing a lot of pictures and questions, and that's the reason why I named my site the way I did. Tower Gardening Made Easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done it for 8 years, where I've tried to keep it as least complicated as I can. I test my pH the old-fashioned way. I do everything the old-fashioned way, maybe because I've been a gardener all my life. But so I try not to make it too complicated. I do understand, that there has been some things that were created or invented to improve the tower garden, like the timer that Joe is selling. I get that. I get it, but I am not going to recommend a $59 timer when, as you can tell by my tower gardens, the old 15 on and 15 off seems to be working. I don't need a 1 minute on and 5 minute off. I mean, I understand what he's trying to say, but it's working. I don't need it. And so I tend to tell my customers, you get everything in your order, you get everything to get started. You really don't need anything else. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that was rubbing me wrong, is he was saying that timer was a piece of crap, and I disagreed. It's like, it's working. It worked great. So we'll post that group and make sure that everybody is going through the process of moving their customers over to the new group. So now I'm going to just open it up to any Q&A that we might have that I can answer. And don't think it's just me, because now we have a whole bunch of experienced tower gardeners. And the biggest thing and I'll say my weakness is I'm an outdoor tower gardener. I'm not an indoor tower gardener. I like taking the 3 or 4 months off and not growing a tower. But there's many of you that are indoor tower gardeners. So if there's any indoor tower garden questions, feel free to fire away at this time. So what questions do you have?
If you want to ask a question, everyone, just go ahead and unmute yourselves.
We're at the point where we can all unmute.
I have a question. I've been working on the lettuce part, and I heard you talking a little bit about if it starts to shoot out. I think maybe I just need to pull my whole tower garden down and just start over. I have a lot of really big lettuce, but it's not a kind of lettuce I really like to eat, I think. And so I think I need to get rid of it, but I need to just start over and I think clean out the whole thing. It hasn't been very successful for me.
Yeah, and I think you had posted about the type of lettuce you had. You didn't like the texture. Is that right?
Yeah. And so is there a way to harvest that? I notice when I pull it out, the roots tend to want to stay, they break off. And they're getting down in there, and then we have to go and lift that top off and get those out. Is there a better way to do it?
Well,
because I'm pulling the basket.
Right, and it is an excellent topic because there's debate there. In my case, I recommend to only trim your roots in the reservoir. All the plants that are in your tower, I never trim my roots. I never remove it and trim it and put it back in. If I do, and there's one exception, and that's if I'm moving a plant from one location to another, like it got too big for where it was and I want to move it somewhere. When I pull it out, I will often trim half of it off, and that is primarily to allow me to get it back into the hole a lot easier, into the port. That's the only time I trim roots in the tower itself. I only trim the reservoir. So I hope that, does anybody else?
Thanks.
Now, as far as the type of lettuce, it is true. There are many of the leafy lettuces are softer. And I think fresh lettuce off the tower tends to be softer because, like we talked about, it's not crisp. That's something you can experiment with. Romaine. Can anybody else suggest a crisp lettuce to echo? I suggested romaine. Is there any other lettuce that stays crisp all the time?
Trying to think of the name. It's butter crunch.
I think she has butter crunch.
Yeah, I do have butter crunch.
I don't think that's it because I've looked it up and it's not the same lettuce. It looks different. It actually comes in more of a head, and yours is sprawling out. That's not, I don't think that's the same. And the leaf is different shape.
Yeah, I think I need something in a head, definitely, if it'll grow on the tower.
Romaine is fantastic. If you like romaine in the grocery store, you're going to love it on the tower garden because it's dark green. You're not even going to recognize it. It looks so different. It tastes so different. It's wonderful. I think you'll really be happy with that.
I think we just started some seedlings on that one in the Rockwell.
Well, if you're growing outside though, Echo, it's probably not the right time of the year.
We're not outside. We're
okay.
inside.
Okay. Yeah.
Good. Any other questions?
Yes, Ron. What would you start right now? And we're at the mid-July. We're going to have all of July and August. It's 75 here now, but I'm guessing it's going to get hot again. I've been able to grow lettuces, many kinds of lettuces here in the heat. But is there something better to start now? I've got 2 big tomato plants I'm going to leave in there, but I've got to harvest all my lettuces and use those in my smoothies and things. What would you start now?
And that's an excellent topic because you could sell a tower garden at this time of year, and your customer wants to start something. What the key is you got to steer them away from any fruiting plants because, and I'm
Okay.
thinking of Omaha, is you're not going to have the sunlight nor the heat for those fruiting plants because by the end of September, you start to get cold weather. And so what you're gonna, unless they like fried green tomatoes because they're not gonna turn red,
Mm.
you see what I'm getting at? So
Right.
you would steer them away from any fruiting plant and toward all the greens. All the greens are gonna grow great. And then you can also, it depends on their setup, where they, and I'll just use myself as an example, and Molly, who's not on the call, we both have the same setup. Hers is in, her tower garden is in the driveway. Mine is on my patio, but we both have the ability to move it into our garage. So when we're monitoring the weather, uh, as soon as we see a below freezing day, we put it in the garage and then we put it right back out when it warms up. And we do that, and we can grow outside into December. Now, that's North Carolina. Back it up a little bit for Nebraska. But you can, again, if you watch the weather, there are many days that it might be below freezing at night, but it can be, 50 degrees in the afternoon. Now, but you have to make that effort of moving the tower in and out. So lettuces and kales and herbs will all grow, I would say for you guys into early October if you can avoid the frost.
What I do, I actually do grow I grow into the fall on outdoor towers too. But what I do is I get a $20, $15, $20 fish tank heater, and I attach it to the inside of my tank. And of course, like Ron said earlier, you have to make sure that your tank stays full, because if the water drops below that tank heater, that doesn't work very well. But a tank heater will keep your water warm. And then if it's going to frost at night, if it's going to get really cold, I wrap it in a sheet or a blanket, the tower garden. And then in the morning, I go back out and I take it off, and my plants still do really well. As long as the temperatures are going to be decent in the day, then that will still work.
Yep. Okay.
Thank
Ron,
you.
we've lost your volume, Ron.
Got
There. Okay, there we got you again.
me again. Yeah, I have aquarium heaters too, and they work very well.
Mhm.
Keeps the water at about 68 degrees, and that will naturally heat your plant.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I had a thought about the pest removal. One of the things that I read that I feel like really works too is if you've got some pest problems and you don't necessarily want to have to pick everything off, because that's what I do. That I'm the pick method. Unless I get really overgrown with something, then I'll use some neem oil. But like spider mites have been my worst enemy in indoor growing. You don't want to bring in, if you're going to do indoor growing, you do not want to bring in a plant from outside inside. Even if you buy it at the grocery store, like I brought in some plants. I bought some house plants over the winter, and I brought them into the house. So the next thing I know, I've got spider mites on my tower garden, and I think it probably came in from the plants that I bought at the grocery store. But anyway, you have to really watch your tower garden indoors. I feel like too. You got to check that every day, because spider mites can take over your tower and it's quick. But anyway, one thing that I like to do is if I do feel like I have a problem, like say caterpillars, the great thing about growing at the tower garden is that white lid will, if you keep that clean, it will tell you what's going on with your tower garden. If you've got pests, if you've got caterpillars, it's going to start out as little black dots on the top of your tower. So you just look up above that, and then you look underneath the leaves for caterpillars. And sometimes they can be little tiny things, but you get rid of them. And then another thing that you can do is later in the evening when it's starting to cool down, take water and spray under the leaves, and that will knock some of those pests off, so that you have to do less hunting. That works really well.
Those are great points. I've used the exact same techniques, and this was one of the first years I had caterpillars attack my lettuce. I've always had caterpillars attack my kale and a few other things, but I had a variety of caterpillar that had started attacking my lettuce. And to your point, I went after them, picking, and I finally feel this was the first year that I won that battle, because there were other years, you just didn't feel like you had won. They had consumed a little too much of your plant. But in this case, I was very diligent, picking, and all of a sudden I got to the point where I couldn't find any more, and my lettuce looks great. So.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing is, people will say, oh, you still get plant pests. Well, if you've got plants, you're going to have pests. It's just not possible not to have some kind of pest challenge throughout, growing. But the thing is that tower gardening makes it so easy to identify that you've got pests, especially if you're looking at them. If you've got a ground garden, there's no way that you can spot that you've got caterpillars until they've eaten your plants. But on a tower garden, you can see them before there's much damage, and you can just really be diligent in it.
And that's another thing you need to measure your customer with is their tolerance toward bugs. In my case, I don't have any problem. I mean, I can pick them, look at them, whatever. Susie, and that's the difference, is she doesn't want to see a bug at all. Not even, she doesn't want to know that there was a bug on the lettuce, right? Don't even tell me what you did to pick that lettuce. So that's why I take care of the outside, everything outside. Once it goes into the kitchen, she handles it.
That's awesome. Great teamwork.
All right. Well, we've gone a little bit long, but it was a good session.
It was good information. Thanks so much, Ron, for leading us today. We really appreciate it.